Divorce my son, and you'll leave with nothing. Her husband's mother trapped her in a hotel room, drugged, with 2 thugs closing in. Her final, desperate call to her husband was coldly rejected. He was downstairs at a gala, protecting the reputation of the woman he truly loved. But as he and the city's elite watched on the ballroom's giant screen, captivated by a live feed she had secretly set up, they didn't see a helpless victim. They saw a soldier. For 3 years, they humiliated her as a worthless orphan. They never knew they had pushed a retired captain of the Eagle Special Forces too far, and her war for justice was just beginning. The moment Chloe Chiao pushed open the heavy wooden door to Leo Gu's office, time seemed to freeze. Her husband, Leo, was personally fastening a ruby necklace around another woman's neck. That woman was Sophia Song, known to their entire social circle as the one that got away, the woman Leo had always loved. Chloe knew that necklace intimately. The pendant was a pigeon blood ruby, cut like a burning heart. Under the bright office lights, it reflected Sophia's triumphant smile. The flash of red seared Chloe's eyes. The flash of red seared Chloe's eyes. It was her mother's last possession, the one thing she had, for the first time in their 3-year marriage, asked Leo to bid on for her. It's just a necklace, and you're staring like you've never seen jewelry before. I always said orphans have no class, Leo's friend, Lucas Yi, remarked from the sofa, his legs crossed. His contempt was as sharp as a needle. Chloe ignored him. Her world had narrowed to the necklace and the woman wearing it. She strode forward, her hand darting towards Sophia's neck, fast as a bolt of lightning. But another hand was faster. Leo's large hand clamped around her wrist like a vice, the force of his grip painful. Chloe, don't make a scene, he said, his voice thick with displeasure. I've already given this to Sophia to celebrate her promotion to first officer. But you promised me. Chloe's voice trembled with rage. For the first time, her usually gentle face was contorted with a fierce expression. Are you really going to make a fuss over a necklace? Leo's brow furrowed in annoyance. A scene? A fuss? Chloe's heart turned to ice. She stared at him and asked, word by word, what if today, I insist on having it? Leo, see? How can a materialistic woman like this be worthy of you? Lucas fanned the flames from the sidelines. Just divorce her already. Only an independent, outstanding woman like Sophia is your match. Sophia elegantly tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a faint, disdainful smile on her face. Don't be ridiculous. I have no interest in being a homewrecker. With that, she actually unclasped the necklace. The multi-million-dollar jewel dangled from her fingertips for a moment before she tossed it carelessly at Chloe's feet, where it clattered against the cold marble floor with a sharp, piercing sound. The multi-million-dollar jewel dangled from her fingertips for a moment before she tossed it carelessly at Chloe's feet, where it clattered against the cold marble floor with a sharp, piercing sound. That sound struck Chloe's heart like a hammer. Her eyes instantly reddened. It was her mother's most treasured possession, now sullied and disgraced. She slowly crouched down, ignoring Sophia's condescending gaze, and gathered the cold chain into her palm with trembling hands. The sharp facets of the gem dug into her skin, piercing her soul. What a woman should truly care about is her knowledge and perspective. Sophia's voice floated down from above, dripping with patronizing superiority. Instead of fighting over a necklace, you should try to improve yourself. Chloe clutched the necklace and slowly stood up. She didn't look at Lucas or her husband. Her gaze, like 2 blades of ice, was fixed on Sophia. You claim you won't be a homewrecker, so why do you so readily accept a multi-million-dollar necklace from another woman's husband? Sophia's face stiffened. She scoffed. I just thought of it as a gift from a friend. I didn't even notice the price. Is that so? A sarcastic smile touched Chloe's lips. Friends casually give each other million-dollar gifts? Lucas is your friend. Has he ever given you something like this? Her words left both Sophia and Lucas speechless. Enough. Leo finally intervened, his voice defensive. It's just a necklace. Don't blow this out of proportion. Just a necklace. Chloe laughed bitterly to herself. He had no idea. Years ago, in a war-torn country, her mother had traded this very necklace for medicine and food, saving the lives of 50 orphans. This wasn't just jewelry. It was her mother's conviction, her burning kindness and courage. She took a deep breath, suppressing the storm of emotions inside her, and remembered the phone call she'd received before coming here. She looked up at Leo, her voice terrifyingly calm. Fine, we'll drop the subject of the necklace. Tomorrow, my parents' ashes are being flown back from overseas. You will come with me to receive them. It was her final request and her final test. She hoped he would grant her, and her parents, this last shred of dignity. Leo was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. All right, I'll go with you tomorrow. Chloe said nothing more. She turned and left the suffocating office. Behind her, she could hear Lucas's disdainful voice. Are you really going with her? Who bothers shipping an orphan's ashes all the way back from another country? Orphan. The word was a poisoned dagger, stabbing deep into her heart. She looked down at the red marks on her palm from the necklace and whispered, Mom, Dad, tomorrow, I'm coming to take you home. But the next day, the The appointed time came and went, and Leo never appeared. The villa was empty, except for Chloe. A sense of unease grew within her until she finally called him. His voice on the other end was impatient. Sophia's mother sprained her ankle. I'm with her at the hospital. I can't make it today. Before he finished, a delicate female voice cut in. It was Sophia. Leo, come help me with my mom. Okay. Leo's reply was gentle, a stark contrast to his irritation with her. Then, the line went dead. Chloe stood there, phone in hand, feeling the blood in her veins turn to ice. How absurd. Her husband would rather comfort his old flame's mother over a sprained ankle than accompany his wife to receive the remains of her parents, who had died in service to their country. She didn't cry. She took a deep, shuddering breath, and the dull ache of betrayal in her chest sharpened into a cold, clear resolve. She turned, changed into a crisp black trench coat, and drove straight to the military base on the outskirts of the city. At the solemn gates, guards stood ramrod straight, rifles in hand. Chloe got out of the car, closing the door with a steady, firm motion. Even after 3 years out of the service, her posture still held the unmistakable mark of a soldier, her spine as straight as a spear. She walked to the gate, stopped, raised her right hand, and delivered a flawless, standard military salute. Even if I'm alone, I will bring my parents home with dignity. Taking a deep breath, she called out with all her strength, her voice clear and resonant. Retired soldier of the Eagle Special Forces, Chloe Chiao, reporting to receive the ashes of former peacekeeping officer Warren Chiao and military Dr. Anna Guan. Her powerful call echoed through the quiet base, piercing the sky. The heavy steel gates slowly swung open. 2 rows of soldiers marched out in perfect unison, lining the path and saluting her as one. An elderly man in a crisp uniform, a general's stars on his shoulders, personally carried a black sandalwood box toward her. The box was draped with the vibrant national flag. The brilliant red was like a flame, searing Chloe's eyes. It was the color her parents had died to protect, their faith and their glory. The box was draped with the vibrant national flag. The brilliant red was like a flame, searing Chloe's eyes. It was the color her parents had died to protect, their faith and their glory. My child, the old general said, his voice tinged with apology. When we found them, your parents' remains were already mixed together. So, we had them cremated and interred as one. Chloe's tears finally fell, but a small, relieved smile touched her lips. That's for the best. Mom and Dad loved each other so much. They would have wanted to be together in death. The general nodded, then snapped to attention, presenting the urn to her with grave formality as he boomed. The spirits of our martyrs are eternal. Behind him, all the soldiers echoed the cry. The spirits of our martyrs are eternal. The deafening shout seemed to shake the heavens, the highest tribute to heroes. Chloe straightened her back, returned the salute, and then reached out with both hands, steadily accepting the heavy box. Chloe Chiao, taking my parents home, she declared, her voice choked with tears but filled with strength. When Chloe returned to the cold villa, carrying her parents' ashes, she was met by her mother-in-law's shrill, cutting voice. What is that? Ashes? Chloe, how could you bring something so unlucky into this house? Leo's mother recoiled as if she'd seen a ghost, her face filled with disgust. Unlucky? Chloe stared at her in disbelief. These are my parents' ashes. They were martyrs who died for our country. I don't care whose ashes they are, they're bad luck. Get them out of here. You are not bringing them into this house. Just then, Leo came down the stairs. A flicker of guilt crossed his face when he saw the scene, but he still sided with his mother. Mom isn't well. You should. Just find a place to put the ashes outside for now. Find a place. To just put them outside? In that instant, Chloe's heart sank to the abyss. She stared at him, forcing the words through her teeth. You also think my parents' ashes are unlucky? Leo was silent. His silence was the cruelest answer. The first round of funding for your startup came from my parents' death benefits. When your mother needed cataract surgery, I used my connections to get the best doctor in the country. I treated you as family, but what about you? Her words were like bullets, striking the faces of the Gu family. Brother, get her out of here, his sister Gia shrieked. Leo's mother, enraged, lunged forward and slapped Chloe across the face. Then, she reached out, trying to push the urn from Chloe's hands. How dare you? Chloe's pupils contracted. On pure instinct, she shielded the urn with her body, letting her mother-in-law's shoving send her staggering backward. Chloe, stop upsetting my mother. Leo finally spoke, but it was to scold her. If anything happens to her, I will never forgive you. Never forgive me. Chloe laughed, a desolate, heartbreaking sound. She looked at the cold urn in her arms, almost feeling her parents' silent sighs. Mom, Dad, I'm so sorry. I married the wrong man. She stopped all argument. She gave Leo one last, deep look. There was no longer any love in her eyes, only endless disappointment and cold, steely resolve. Clutching the urn, she turned with sharp, decisive steps and walked out of this place she had once called home. After arranging for her parents' ashes at the funeral home, Chloe walked out alone. A cold, Fine rain was falling, washing over the cities in different glamour. She walked aimlessly under an umbrella, only to see an impossibly long motorcade of black cars parked at the entrance. A car door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall and lean, a black umbrella obscuring the upper half of his face, revealing only a sharply defined jaw and thin lips glistening with rain. He was aggressively handsome, but what truly startled Chloe was the raw, deadly aura that emanated from him. In that moment, the man lifted his gaze slightly. Chloe's eyes met a pair as deep and cold as a winter lake. They were stunningly beautiful, yet terrifyingly placid, as if nothing in the world could create a ripple in their depths. It was only a fleeting glance, but an inexplicable tremor went through Chloe. A cold sweat broke out in her palms. Back in her car, her phone lit up with a text from Leo. Mom and Gia have left. Come back. We need to talk. Chloe glanced at it coldly, started the car, and drove back to the villa. When she returned, Leo immediately came forward, even opening his arms for a gentle embrace. Chloe, I'm sorry. I know you were wrong today. I'll make it up to you. Make it up? Chloe gently pushed his arms away. His warmth was once something she craved, but now it only made her feel a bone-deep chill. The ones who were truly wrong today were her parents, their honor as heroes trampled into the dust. What could he possibly offer to compensate for that? She looked at the man she once loved so deeply and spoke the words that had been circling in her mind for what felt like an eternity, her voice calm and clear. Leo Gu, let's get a divorce. A divorce? Leo's voice was filled with disbelief. He frowned, as if Chloe were throwing a childish tantrum. Just because my mother wouldn't let you bring the urn into the house today? His tone was so casual, as if it were a trivial matter and not a desecration of heroes' memories. Chloe's heart felt like it had been plunged into ice water, numb and cold. She saw with absolute clarity that she could no longer hold out any hope for this man. It's not just because of that, she said calmly. It's also because of Sophia's song. If we divorce, you'll be free to marry her. I told you, Sophia and I are just friends, he interrupted, his voice laced with the irritation of being wrongly accused. Chloe found it laughable. Did he really think the word friends could cover up the late-night phone calls, the missed anniversaries, and the necklace that should have been her mother's? I'm tired, Leo, she said, her voice filled with a weariness that went bone-deep. I don't want to continue this marriage anymore. There is no greater sorrow than a dead heart. And her heart, for him, was dead. Leo's expression changed. An unprecedented feeling of losing his grip seized him. The woman before him was so close, yet she felt as if she might vanish like smoke at any moment. He panicked, blurting out a ridiculous suggestion. If you're still worried, then let's have a child. Chloe stared at him in shock, as if seeing him for the first time. A child? In 3 years of marriage, he had never once touched her. At first, he'd said his career came first. Later, it became their unspoken normal. They were strangers sharing a bed. She had once thought he just wasn't ready for fatherhood. Only now did she understand. He was saving himself for his old flame. And now that she was determined to leave, he wanted to use a child as a shackle? We've been married for 3 years. It's about time we had a child, Leo said, leaning in and pressing his warm lips against her cheek. In that instant, a wave of physical revulsion washed over Chloe. She shoved him away violently, wiping her cheek with the back of her hand as if trying to scrub off something filthy. You're disgusting, Leo. His face darkened instantly. Just then, his phone rang, the special ringtone he had set for only one person. He answered, his voice immediately softening. Okay, I'm on my way. After hanging up, he didn't even look at Chloe. I have to go out. You should calm down, he said before rushing out the door. Chloe stood in the empty living room, watching his taillights disappear into the night like a dying star. He was going to Sophia, as always. This farcical marriage had to end. The next day, Chloe didn't receive Leo's calm-down response. Instead, she got a call from his mother. At a cafe, the older woman slid a document across the table toward her, her tone imperious. I'll give you 100 million. Divorce my son. Okay. Chloe's answer was swift and without a hint of hesitation. It was Leo's mother who was taken aback, eyeing her suspiciously. Chloe's gaze fell on the divorce agreement. At the bottom, in flamboyant script, was Leo Gu's signature. It was his handwriting. Did he send you? Chloe asked coolly. Her mother-in-law's eyes darted away, a clear sign of guilt. It doesn't matter who sent me. Just sign it. Chloe understood. Leo probably didn't even know about this agreement. But it didn't matter anymore. She picked up the pen and signed her name. It was a fair trade. 100 million could do a lot of good in the world, far more than wasting away in this marriage. That evening, Chloe met her friend Lana one for dinner, trying to dispel the gloom of the past few days. They had just settled into a booth behind a screen at a high-end restaurant when the boisterous conversation from the next table drifted over. Leo, when are you and Sophia getting married? We're all waiting for the wedding invitation. It was Lucas's voice. Should be soon. Who does Chloe Chow think she is? Graduated from some no-name diploma mill. If Leo hadn't been kind enough to take her in, she'd have starved to death. And she has the nerve to cling to the title of Mrs. Gu. Exactly. Our Sophia graduated from an Ivy League university. Not to mention, she's the first female airline captain at her company. Now that's what you call a goddess. Lana's knuckles turned white as she gripped her chopsticks, ready to storm over and confront them. But Chloe placed a hand on hers, stopping her. They're talking about me. I'll handle this. She calmly stood up, walked around the screen, and appeared before the group, a cold smile playing on her lips. In such a hurry for a wedding? How about I buy you all a drink right now? An uproar went through the table. Leo's face turned thunderous. Chloe, stop it, he hissed. They're just joking around. They don't mean any harm. No harm. Chloe looked at him with profound disappointment. This was her husband. When she was being slandered, his first instinct was always to smooth things over. You were the one who proposed, Leo, she said, each word a reminder to him and to herself. What right do you have to say that? Lucas jumped up. Leo loves Sophia. You think he should love an orphan from a diploma mill like you? That's bullshit. Lana couldn't hold back any longer and rushed over. What diploma mill? Chloe graduated from the National Defense Academy. Loud laughter erupted from the surrounding tables, as if they'd heard the world's funniest joke. Sophia rose elegantly, looking at Chloe with an expression of pity. If you're going to brag, at least have something to back it up. Lying about your education just makes you look like a clown. Just then, Sophia's eyes lit up as she saw an elderly man approaching from a distance. Professor Gao, she called out, a triumphant smile on her face. What a coincidence. You're a professor at the National Defense Academy. We have someone at our table who claims to be one of your students. All eyes, hungry for drama, turned to Chloe. But Chloe simply walked forward and nodded slightly. Professor Gao, it's been a while. The professor's face broke into a delighted smile. He patted her shoulder warmly. Chloe, I didn't expect to see you here. About your parents. My condolences. The chorus of ridicule at the table died instantly. Sophia's face turned a blotchy red. Professor Gao, you actually know her? Of course, the professor said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. She was one of my most brilliant students. The top science scholar in the entire capital region the year she enrolled. Her admission was the talk of the campus. Top scholar. National Defense Academy. The words exploded like thunder in everyone's ears. Leo was utterly stunned. He never knew that the wife he had lived with for 3 years had such a dazzling past. Professor, is this your student? A cool, deep male voice cut through the awkward silence. Everyone turned to see a tall, slender man who had appeared beside them. It was the same man Chloe had seen at the funeral home, the new head of the Bai family, Jasper Bai. Jasper Bai. The name alone seemed to make the air heavier. Professor Gao made the introductions. Jasper politely extended a hand to Chloe, a flicker of unreadable curiosity in his deathly still eyes. A pleasure, Miss Xiao. At that exact moment, a loud bang shattered the restaurant's ambience. It wasn't a dropped plate, but something deeper, more percussive, a gunshot. Chaos erupted. Screams, the crash of overturning tables and chairs, filled the air. Chloe's instincts took over, and she was about to dive for cover when a powerful force slammed into her back, shoving her violently forward. She stumbled, nearly falling. In her peripheral vision, she saw a scene that would be burned into her memory forever. Leo, her husband, was holding Sophia Song tightly in his arms, shielding her behind the screen. And the one who had just shoved her, exposing her to the danger, was him. Leo, her husband, was holding Sophia Song tightly in his arms, shielding her behind the screen. In a moment of life and death, he had chosen Sophia without hesitation, pushing his wife into the line of fire. A bone-deep chill spread from the soles of her feet through her entire body. Chloe looked at him, her face a mask of stone, and saw the flicker of guilt in his eyes as he glanced back at her. She knew what he was thinking. He would smooth it over later. She was always so easy to appease. Saw the flicker of guilt in his eyes as he glanced back at her. But not this time. Chloe met his complicated gaze, her lips forming silent words, a final message just for him. Leo Gu, I don't want you anymore. In the brightly lit lobby of the police station, Lana Wen's furious questions cut through the air, causing every head to turn. All eyes, now like sharp arrows, were fixed on Sophia Song and Leo Gu. Sophia's expression froze, her perfect makeup unable to conceal her discomfort. As for Leo, he was mortified, turning his anger on Chloe. Chloe, do you have to get your friend to make a scene for everyone to see? Chloe looked at him coldly. To protect another woman, he would shift all the blame onto his own wife without a second thought. The last bit of warmth in her heart was extinguished by his icy accusation. I don't want any compensation from you, she said, her voice eerily calm, like a dead sea. I just want to resign. What? Leo was stunned, clearly not expecting this. Tomorrow, I will submit my resignation letter, Chloe stated, each word crystal clear. From now on, Gu Technologies has nothing to do with me, and you and Sophia Song can do whatever you want. It has nothing to do with me, either. Are you threatening me with your resignation? Leo's brow furrowed into a tight knot. No, I'm severing ties. Chloe met his gaze evenly. If we're going to end this, let's end it completely. Noticing the growing crowd of onlookers, Leo rubbed his temples in frustration and finally conceded. Fine, have it your way. You can use this time to clear your head. He still believed this was just another one of her moods. Chloe said no more, taking Lana's arm and walking away from the suffocating drama. The next day, Chloe returned to the company, to the building where she had poured countless sleepless nights. It now felt alien to her. When she placed the printed resignation letter in front of Leo, his face was dark enough to drip ink. You're really quitting? I thought I made myself clear yesterday. If you think you can use this tactic to force my hand, I have to say, you've deeply disappointed me. Chloe almost laughed. She was the one who was thoroughly disappointed. Leo, I have no interest in using any tactics on you. I just don't want to work with a husband who, in a moment of crisis, would push his wife away. Her words hit him like a slap. His face turned ashen. He grabbed a pen and signed the letter with a heavy, angry stroke. Fine. Don't you regret this? Her work was to be handed over to his sister, Gia. Like a preening peacock, Gia arrogantly flipped through the project proposals Chloe had bled for, letting out a dismissive scoff. I thought your job was so difficult, but it's this simple. Looks like you really were just freeloading off my brother all these years. She tossed a project plan, one that contained months of Chloe's hard work, aside like a piece of trash. All right, get out of here. And don't even think about coming back. My brother's company is not a garbage dump. Don't worry. Chloe looked at her coldly. I won't be back. As for you, you seem to fit right in at the garbage dump. A few days later, Chloe received a call from Gia, her spoiled voice piercing through the phone. Chloe, if you're not dead yet, get over here. Did you forget you're supposed to take Mom to the hospital for her checkup today? I'm busy, Chloe said and hung up, immediately blocking the number. The motion was fluid, practiced. But half an hour later, a call came from Leo, his tone of command. Chloe, get to the hospital right now. If anything happens to my mother, I will never forgive you. When Chloe arrived, she was greeted by the sour expressions of all three members of the Gu family. They had been denied entry to the doctor's office because they didn't have an appointment, a public humiliation. My mother couldn't get an appointment. Did you pull some strings to stop it? Leo demanded. Chloe found the accusation absurdly comical. Dr. Fong is a national treasure and a military doctor. He's elderly, and his appointments have to be booked months in advance. Did you think this was a grocery store where you can just show up and get what you want? His mother rushed forward, pointing a finger at her. You're trying to kill me. You want me to go blind. The office door opened, and a vigorous old man stepped out. It was Dr. Fong. His eyes lit up when he saw Chloe. Chloe, what are you doing here? Dr. Fong, you have to see what this evil woman. Leo's mother immediately began to complain, even announcing smugly. It won't be long before my son divorces her to marry someone who truly deserves him. Dr. Fong's face darkened instantly. He looked at the woman, his voice carrying an authority that could not be questioned. In that case, I suggest you find another doctor for your eyes. The only reason I agreed to see you is out of respect for Chloe's parents. Since you hold their daughter in such contempt, you have no need to come here again. What? The entire Gu family was stunned. Her parents are dead. What respect could they possibly have? Leo's mother blurted out thoughtlessly. Silence. Dr. Fong snapped, his voice sharp. You are not worthy of speaking their names. They were martyrs who died for this country. His rebuke silenced the entire hallway. The faces of the Gu family shifted through shades of red and white, a spectacular sight. That evening, Leo returned to the villa. He carried a cold tension with him and got straight to the point. The story from the restaurant made the news. Sophia is being attacked online as a homewrecker. You will immediately issue a joint statement with me, clarifying that it was all a misunderstanding. Chloe listened quietly until he delivered the most unbelievable line of all. And you'd better add that Sophia is your friend, too. That you were worried for her safety, so you told me to protect her first. The air in the room seemed to solidify. Chloe looked at the man before her and felt, for the first time, that he was a complete stranger. A shameless one. Leo, she said, her voice soft but laced with ice. Do you have any shame at all? Sophia's career could be ruined because of this, he argued desperately. And my parents' ashes needed to come home. I couldn't even bring them into my own house. Chloe finally erupted, the long-suppressed grief and anger spewing forth like a volcano. You broke your promise to me for Sophia's mother's sprained ankle, and now you want me to tell a colossal lie for her reputation. Leo, you don't just owe me. You owe my parents. Perhaps shaken by the resolve in her eyes, Leo's aggression faltered. He was silent for a long moment, then finally took a step back. I know you've been wronged. How about this? This weekend, I'll go with you to pay respects to your parents. I'll apologize to them. Chloe agreed. She didn't need his apology, but her parents deserved one, however late. But when the weekend came, all she received was another cold phone call. Sorry, Chloe, a very important meeting just came up at the office. I can't make it today. Next time. I promise I'll go with you next time. Okay, I understand, Chloe said calmly and hung up. There was no argument, no tantrum. She didn't even feel the ripple of disappointment anymore. She quietly opened her phone's photo gallery and, one by one, deleted the few pictures they had together. Then she began to pack her things, leaving the cheap, never-worn wedding rings in the back of a drawer. Just then, Lana called, her voice buzzing with excitement. "Chloe, want to come with me to the horse club? I heard Jasper Bai is going to be there." Chloe was about to refuse, but ultimately, she agreed to her friend's request. When she arrived at the club, breathing in the fresh air scented with grass and sun, a jarring image slammed into her vision. On the green lawn in the distance, two magnificent horses trotted side by side. Their riders, dressed in handsome riding gear, were laughing and talking. The man was handsome, the woman was beautiful, and under the brilliant sun, they looked like a perfect couple. Those two people were Sophia Song and the man who was supposed to be in a very important meeting. Her husband, Leo Gu. The air at the horse club, a mix of grass, sun, and leather, should have been pleasant. Instead, it was tainted by the sight of those two figures. Leo Gu and Sophia Song, riding side by side, sharing laughs, looked as perfect as a painting, and as sharp as a knife in Chloe's heart. "What rotten luck," Lana muttered under her breath. Chloe just smiled faintly, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Let's just pretend they don't exist." Unfortunately, they had also seen her. Leo urged his horse forward, looking down at her from his elevated position, his brow furrowed. "What are you doing here?" Chloe tilted her head up, meeting both the sunlight and his accusatory gaze. A cold curve formed on her lips. "And you? So this is what you call a very important meeting?" A flicker of embarrassment and guilt crossed Leo's face. Before he could speak, Sophia rode up beside him, eyeing Chloe with the air of a victor. "Do you really think that using these pathetic tactics, following a man, framing others, will win his heart back?" Without waiting for a reply, she let out a sharp cry, dug her heels into her horse's flanks, and took off like an arrow, galloping freely across the field. Her dashing figure drew cheers from the onlookers. Leo's eyes followed her, mesmerized, as if she were the center of his universe. It took him a long moment to turn back to Chloe, his tone dripping with disappointment. "Did you see that? A confident, independent woman like Sophia doesn't care about your petty games. Chloe, I want you to stop following me here." With that, he spurred his horse and chased after Sophia, as if fleeing from something that disgusted him. Chloe stood there, finding the whole situation utterly absurd. He actually thought she was here for him. "Let's go. We have business to attend to," Chloe said, pulling Lana, who was practically vibrating with rage, toward the other side of the club. Jasper Bai was surrounded by a small group of people, his expression as detached and cool as ever. Just as Chloe and Lana were about to approach, Leo charged over like a storm, grabbing Chloe's arm. "You're still following me. What are you trying to do?" "I'm here on business." "So am I," Chloe said, forcefully yanking her arm free. "You?" Leo's eyes were filled with contempt. "What kind of business could you possibly have?" Sophia walked over then, linking her arm affectionately with Leo's, her gaze flicking dismissively over Chloe. A capable woman becomes an asset to a man. An incapable one just becomes ugly with jealousy. With that, she led Leo over to Jasper Bai, guided by her family members who made the introductions. Taking a deep breath, Lana led Chloe forward as well. "Mr. Bai, hello. I'm Lana 1, from Blue Tech," Lana said, getting straight to the point. But Jasper's gaze passed over her and landed on Chloe. "Ms. Chiao, we meet again." "Yes, we do," Chloe replied with a tight smile. Seeing her chance, Lana quickly added, "Chloe is now an employee at Blue Tech. She's a top expert in the field of drone technology." Before the words had even settled, Leo's cold voice cut in. "Mr. Bai, please don't be mistaken." He didn't even look at Chloe, speaking as if she were an irrelevant object. "Chloe used to be an employee at my company, but recently resigned. She is no expert, just an ordinary staff member." His statement was a poisoned dart with two aims: to distance himself from the trouble of Chloe in front of Jasper, and to imply that Blue Tech was untrustworthy and exaggerating its claims. It was a vicious move. 3 years of marriage, of her pouring her heart and soul into his company, and all it earned her was the title of ordinary staff member. Suddenly, a cry of alarm interrupted the tense standoff. The magnificent black stallion that Sophia's family had gifted to Jasper had suddenly become agitated. Eager to show off again, Sophia had volunteered to ride it, but after only 2 laps, the horse went completely out of control. It bucked and thrashed like a wild beast, ignoring Sophia's screams and frantic pulls on the reins as it charged wildly across the field. People scattered in panic. The horse was heading straight for Jasper Bai, who stood perfectly still, his back to the chaos. Time seemed to slow down. Everyone saw the iron hooves about to crush everything in their path, saw Jasper's impassive profile, saw the terror twisting Sophia's face as she clung on for dear life. In that split second, a figure shot out like an arrow. It was Chloe. Before anyone could process what was happening, she had reached Jasper. With an incredible burst of strength, she wrapped her arms around his waist, using her forward momentum to tackle him to the side, rolling them both out of harm's way. With a thunderous crash, the black horse galloped past, its heavy hooves digging a deep trench in the exact spot where they had been standing. Grass flew through the air. Chloe, breathing heavily, was acutely aware of the weight of the man on top of her and the faint, cold scent that clung to him. "Why did you save me?" Jasper's cool voice sounded by her ear, devoid of panic, only curiosity. "Instinct," Chloe said. It was the ingrained nature of a soldier. She tried to push him off, but he didn't move. His still, dark eyes were fixed on her, her grass-stained face clearly reflected in his pupils. Not far away, Sophia was finally thrown from the horse, landing hard on the ground with a cry of pain. Leo immediately rushed to her side. But the untethered stallion, after running in a wide circle, turned and charged again. This time, straight for Chloe, who was just getting to her feet. "Chloe, look out!" Lana screamed in terror. Leo instinctively started to run towards her, but a pained cry from Sophia in his arms stopped him in his tracks. In that fraction of a second of hesitation, he watched helplessly as the horse bore down on Chloe. Everyone thought the woman who had just saved a life was about to lose her own. But just as the iron hooves were about to descend, Chloe moved. She didn't retreat. She advanced. Sinking low, she timed the horse's approach perfectly, her hand shooting out to grab the flying reins. Her arm muscles bulged with effort as she used the horse's momentum, pushing off the ground and launching herself onto its back with the fluid grace of a leopard. Absolute silence fell over the field. Everyone stared, dumbfounded, at the woman on the wild horse. Her dark hair streamed behind her as she leaned forward, her legs clamped around the horse's body like steel vices. She wasn't just struggling. She was engaged in a silent battle of wills, a contest of pure strength and skill. It was no longer a panicked fight, but an act of powerful, commanding conquest. After a few moments, the frantic stallion miraculously began to calm, submitting to her control. When Chloe slowly trotted back to the crowd and dismounted with a clean, sharp movement, she seemed to be glowing with an invisible light, the aura of a true master. She walked directly to Leo and Sophia. Her gaze fell on Sophia's pale, furious face, and her voice was cool and strong. "Galloping on a horse isn't that impressive. But if you only do it to capture a man's attention, then yes, we are very different." Without giving them another glance, she turned away. Jasper had already walked up to her, and for the first time, his deep eyes held a genuine flicker of emotion. "Ms. Chow, what would you like as a reward?" "I don't need one. And if I insist on giving you one," he pressed, taking a step closer. Not wanting to get entangled with him, Chloe replied casually, "Then donate to build a school for underprivileged children." That night, Leo returned to the villa. He tried to explain away his lie from that day, even offering to make it up to her by finally accompanying her to visit her parents' graves. Chloe just refused him flatly. Finally, he revealed his true purpose. "You saved Jasper at the club today. He has a good impression of you. Come back to the company and continue leading the drone project. The investment from the Bai family is crucial for us." Chloe looked at him coldly, at the mix of embarrassment and selfish entitlement on his face. She laughed, a sound full of irony. So, after all that, after the heart-stopping rescue and the stunning display of skill, her greatest value in his eyes was still just as a pawn to secure his business deals. "What's wrong with that?" Leo's voice was laced with an entitled frustration. "I'm just trying to maximize our benefits. It's good for the company, and it's good for our family." Family. The word felt like a tiny needle, pricking Chloe's heart. It was something she had once longed for, but coming from his lips now, it sounded hollow and sarcastic. "If I hadn't saved Jasper today, would you still be asking me to come back to the company?" she asked quietly. "You are the lady of this company. You can come back whenever you want," he answered with practiced smoothness. "In that case, can I also publicly announce at the company that I am the lady of the company?" Leo fell silent. That silence was more hurtful than any words. What he wanted was her value, hidden in the shadows, not her identity, standing in the light. Because if their relationship was made public, the fact that he was having an affair would become the company's biggest scandal. "I have no intention of making things difficult for you." Chloe's voice grew cold. "Therefore, I have no intention of returning to the company. As for Jasper I've already told him how he can repay me, by donating to build a school. Don't expect anything more from me." The next day, Chloe finalized her employment agreement at Lana's company. During lunch, she idly scrolled through her phone and saw a post from Gia. It was a photo focused on a pair of well-defined hands, carefully lifting a spoonful of warm porridge. The caption read, "Porridge my amazing brother made for his future sister-in-law. It smells so good." That bowl of porridge, those hands, instantly awakened a chilling memory in Chloe. She had once had a fever of 104 degrees, her body burning, her mind hazy. When she called him, all she heard was a cold. "The office is busy. Take care of yourself." The moment her fever broke, he was rushing her back to the office to handle an urgent project. She sat at her desk with an 4 drip in her arm, watching him walk past without a second glance. Forget a bowl of homemade porridge. Even the takeout she ordered had been done with her own trembling fingers. So this was the difference between being loved and not being loved. It was as clear as night and day. It doesn't matter anymore, she said, putting her phone away as Lana fumed beside her. She needed to go to the funeral home to see her parents. There were things she needed to tell them. However, just as she stepped out of the office building, a black car slid silently to a stop in front of her. Jasper Bai's assistant politely opened the door. Ms. Ciao, mister. I would like to thank you personally for saving his life. Half an hour later, Chloe stood before her parents' urn. The bright red national flag draped over it was still like a burning flame in the cold display case. She whispered softly, Mom, Dad, I used to think Leo owed you an apology. But now, I realize it's not necessary, is it? He isn't worthy. Are you planning on leaving this city? A cool voice asked unexpectedly from behind her. Chloe spun around to find herself looking into Jasper Bai's bottomless eyes. He had appeared without a sound and was standing there, watching her. Since you declined my assistant's invitation, I had no choice but to come myself. His gaze fell to the nameplate below the urn, Warren Xiao, Anna Guan. Not just anyone has their ashes covered by the national flag, he stated. They were ordinary people, Chloe said, her eyes filled with both sorrow and pride. And they were heroes. She thought he was just making a casual remark and was about to leave, but then she saw Jasper step forward. He stood before the cold glass, straightened his jacket, and with a solemn expression, he bowed 3 times, deeply and respectfully, to her parents' urn. Chloe was stunned. The man rumored to be a volatile monster who regarded human life as insignificant was now paying the highest respects to her parents with the most formal of gestures. This was the respect that should have come from her husband, but was instead given by a stranger. It was deeply ironic, and yet, strangely warming. Their meal together was silent and quick. Chloe just wanted it to be over, but her eyes kept drifting to Jasper's hands as he held his chopsticks. They were beautiful hands, long, with distinct knuckles, possessing the quality of cool jade. They were elegant, yet sharp, as if they could become deadly weapons at a moment's notice. Are you admiring my hands, Miss Ciao? He asked nonchalantly. Yes, they're very beautiful, she answered truthfully. Is that so? He put down his chopsticks, a strange curve to his lips. Then if I happen to die before you, I'll have someone cut them off, preserve them, and send them to you as a gift. Chloe choked on her water, coughing violently. This man's mind truly operated on a different plane of existence. After the meal, Jasper handed her a file. It was the official proof of a full donation for a new school. He had actually done it, with incredible speed. Looking at the document, Chloe gave him her first genuine smile. Thank you. The smile was so pure and bright that it seemed to startle him for a moment. That moment of peace was shattered the next day by a phone call. It was Leo, ordering her back to the office in a tone that brooked no argument. The moment she stepped into his office, she was hit with an accusation. The Wan family terminated their investment partnership. Did you conspire with them to get back at me? Before Chloe could even respond, Gia, who had been hiding outside the door, burst in, her eyes venomous. Not impressed with my abilities? Don't make me laugh. I bet you slept with the investor, didn't you? Brother, she's cheating on you. The air in the office froze. Chloe met Leo's scrutinizing, suspicious gaze, and her heart felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand. For years together had earned her not a single shred of his trust. You believe her? She asked him. He threw the question back at her. Then you tell me why an investor would terminate a deal just because you resigned? Huh. Chloe couldn't help but laugh, a sound filled with sorrow. She stopped, her eyes turning as cold as ice as she stared down Gia. Are you sure that I slept with the investor? Yes, I'm sure. Gia tilted her chin up, smug and defiant. Good. Chloe nodded, calmly taking out her phone and dialing 3 numbers. Hello, police. I'd like to report a crime. I was drugged and raped without my knowledge. Yes, there's a witness. My husband's sister. She says she saw it with her own eyes and can testify. The color drained from Leo's and Gia's faces. Leo lunged, grabbing the phone and stammering that it was all a misunderstanding. After hanging up, he roared at Chloe. Are you insane? You're the ones who are insane. Chloe shot back, not giving an inch. Since your sister is so sure, shouldn't I call the police? Or does slandering someone and ruining their reputation come with no consequences? She held up her phone, on which the recording of Gia's clear, confident, I'm sure, was ready to be played. Apologize. Leo finally grasped the severity of the situation. Faced with irrefutable evidence, Gia finally, resentfully, lowered her head. I'm sorry. I was just making it up. Chloe gave the siblings one last, cold look and walked away. She didn't know that after she left, at the hospital, Sophia Song was already gently soothing Leo's temper, pointing him toward their next battlefield, a grand airshow scheduled in just a few days. Beneath the massive dome of the exhibition hall, the air was thick with the unique scent of metal, fuel, and people. Sleek aircraft stood silent like slumbering steel beasts, a testament to humanity's ambition to conquer the sky. Chloe moved among them, her fingertips occasionally brushing against a cold fuselage, a nostalgic warmth blooming in her eyes. When she was little, Her father's shoulders were her highest watchtower, and her older brother's hand was her steadiest guide. The four of them had once happily wandered through this same world of wonder. "You seem to like children, miss." "Chow," a cool voice inquired beside her. Chloe turned. Jasper had appeared at her side. His well-tailored black casual were setting him apart from the bustling crowd, creating his own island of tranquility. He had no visible bodyguards, looking like any other visitor. "How did you?" "I told them to stay in the shadows," he said, seeming to read her mind. "Are you alone?" "I'm with a friend." "Then why don't we look around together?" he offered, his tone polite, but leaving no room for refusal. Chloe nodded, indifferent. To her surprise, walking with Jasper was a pleasure. The man's knowledge of aerospace was far beyond that of a mere enthusiast. From engine principles to aerodynamics, from classic models to cutting-edge drone technology, he met every topic she raised with precision, sometimes even offering perspectives that sparked new ideas in her. It was an intellectual sparring match between equals, making her almost forget the time. This rare moment of peace, however, was shattered the moment they parted ways. Leo Gu and his pack of sycophants appeared before her like a dark cloud. "Chloe, you came to an airshow? Can you even understand any of this?" He began with his familiar, venomous brand of mockery. "What? Trying to be like Sophia and educate yourself, hoping Leo will see you in a new light. Don't you know it just makes you look pathetic? Sophia can actually fly a plane. What can you do? Drive a tractor?" A wave of laughter washed over Chloe. Her expression remained serene as she asked a simple question. Is being able to fly a plane really that big of a deal? Her calm words were like a match to a powder keg. Lucas doubled over with laughter. "You are unbelievably stupid. Do you think flying a plane is as easy as driving your tractor?" Leo's face darkened, and he spoke in a lecturing tone. "Chloe, Sophia is the first female captain at her airline. There's no need to belittle her accomplishments out of jealousy." Jealousy? The idea was laughable. Her heart was already dead to him. What room was there for jealousy of another woman? Just then, her phone rang. It was Lana, a lifeline pulling her from the mire. "Chloe, emergency. The stunt pilot for the airshow is suddenly unwell. It's a Zivco Edge 540. Can you fly it?" "I can," Chloe replied without a second of hesitation. She knew that model well. She hung up and turned to leave, the jeers still echoing behind her. When she reached the performance area behind the hall and was about to climb into the red and white stunt plane, a large hand gripped her arm. "Chloe, are you insane? Get down from there. Not just anyone can get in a plane." Leo had followed her, his face a mask of shock and anger. "Let go." Chloe's voice was like ice. "I have never felt that Sophia Song has anything worth being jealous of." She yanked her arm free from his grasp and, without a backward glance, closed the cockpit canopy. Lana blocked Leo's path, looking at him as if he were an idiot. "You don't actually believe Sophia is the only woman in the world who can fly a plane, do you?" Leo started to argue, but the roar of the propellers swallowed his words. His eyes widened, fixed on the familiar yet alien figure inside the transparent canopy. Chloe, wearing protective goggles, was calm and resolute. Her hands moved expertly across the complex instrument panel, every action filled with undeniable confidence. The plane began to taxi, gaining speed, its nose lifting until, in a graceful arc, it broke free from gravity and soared into the vast blue sky that belonged to her. In that instant, Leo's pupils shrank to pinpricks. He stared upward, watching the plane perform one incredible, high-difficulty maneuver after another: barrel rolls, inverted flight, steep climbs. Each move drew gasps of awe from the crowd below. He felt a burning sensation on his face, as if an invisible hand were slapping him again and again. So, she really could fly a plane. So, when she said it was no big deal, it wasn't out of jealousy. It was because she had already conquered that world. When Chloe landed the plane smoothly and emerged from the cockpit, she seemed to be cloaked in an invisible light. Leo approached, dazed. When did you learn to do that?" "What? You're only now starting to care about my past." Chloe's sarcasm was a drill, boring into him with shame. After the show, Chloe left first. She had just walked out of the exhibition hall when a black Maybach pulled up silently in front of her. The window rolled down to reveal Jasper's handsome face. "I'll give you a ride." The window rolled down to reveal Jasper's handsome face. "I'll give you a ride." Chloe got in. She learned that Jasper had known she was flying in the show, and he was even aware of her past as a captain in the Eagle Special Forces. He didn't ask questions. Just as they neared her home, he handed her the book she had once mentioned, a long out-of-print first edition of M's manuscript of birds. "This is too valuable. I can't accept it." The driver's voice came from the front. "The boss said if Miss Chow doesn't want it, you can just toss it out anywhere." Chloe held the heavy book, still processing this complicated gesture of goodwill, when a shrill voice cut through the evening quiet. "Aha, Chloe. I knew you were up to no good, getting dropped off at our doorstep by some strange man. I've recorded everything." Jia Gu had sprung out like a ghost, holding her phone up, her face alight with malice and excitement. That night, when Leo returned to the villa, He walked into a prearranged tribunal. His mother and Gia sat on either side of him like judges, and he was the one with the power to deliver the final verdict. His mother and Gia sat on either side of him like judges, and he was the one with the power to deliver the final verdict. Brother, look, here's the proof. Gia shoved her phone in his face. On the screen was the same Maybach he had seen outside the exhibition hall, its license plate clearly visible. Chloe got out of the car, and the driver handed her a book. So, it hadn't been his imagination. What is this about? He demanded, his face grim. I ran into him after the air show, and he gave me a ride. Chloe explained, her tone so calm it was as if she were discussing a stranger. Nice try? A married woman getting into another man's car. What are your intentions? You should ask your brother that question. He's a married man, and his car has certainly seen plenty of Sophia's song. Chloe's retort detonated the powder keg. Leo's mother screamed and lunged, her hand raised, swinging down with tremendous force, aimed straight at Chloe's face. The sharp sound of a slap echoed in the spacious living room, loud enough to make one's ears ring. Let me tell you something, his mother shrieked. You and my son are getting divorced, and it's happening today. The air seemed to solidify around Leo's mother's venomous declaration. The slap, carrying all of an elder's malice and tyranny, whistled towards Chloe's cheek. But this time, it never landed. The crisp sound of impact was replaced by the dull thud of bone against restrained flesh. Chloe's hand had shot up, catching her mother-in-law's wrist in a grip like a steel clamp, stopping it dead in its tracks. Leo, did you see that? She dared to raise a hand to me. His mother trembled with rage. Chloe's eyes were chips of ice. She didn't even look at the shrewish woman, her gaze fixed directly on Leo. You want a divorce? Fine. According to the law, marital assets are split 50-50. Are you prepared for that? Nonsense. You cheated, you leave with nothing. That one sentence revealed the true purpose of this entire charade. They were even trying to renege on the $100 million they had offered in the agreement. Let go of my mother. Leo strode forward, his face livid. She is your elder. Even if she did hit you, can't you, as her daughter-in-law, just endure it? Endure it. Chloe laughed, a sound laced with endless sorrow and irony. Leo, my parents raised me with love, not so I could marry into your family and take beatings from your mother. I endured it before because I loved you. Now I won't. I won't. Those two words stabbed into Leo's heart like steel needles. Was it because of Jasper Bai? Cheated. Chloe's gaze shifted to the still shrieking Gia. If you're referring to the person who dropped me off today, that was Jasper Bai of the Bai family. So, are you planning to tell the entire capital that Jasper Bai is my affair partner? What? Gia's face went deathly pale. The name was like a death sentence, instantly silencing her. Finally, only Chloe and Leo remained in the villa. What, exactly, is your relationship with Jasper Bai? He asked, his voice low. There is no relationship. I was borrowing the book. Chloe had no desire to explain further. She had never intended to keep the book, valued at $10 million. I know I haven't cared enough about you in the past. Leo's voice softened, a rare occurrence. From now on, I'll care more. Let's not get a divorce. Chloe watched him quietly, observing the cheap, belated apology on his face. It was too late. There was no from now on for them. 2 days later, Chloe brought the heavy manuscript to Jasper Bai's office. She placed the book on his desk, her stance firm. This is too valuable. I can't accept it. Jasper leaned back in his large chair, his expression impassive. If you don't like it, just throw it away. Chloe was speechless. This was a priceless one-of-a-kind volume. He seemed to notice her reluctance, and the corner of his mouth lifted slightly. Fine. I'll take the book back. But you have to accompany me somewhere. They ended up at the city's largest used book market. The air smelled of old paper and time, and Chloe quickly became lost in the maze of stalls, even finding 2 books she had long been searching for. They took a break for lunch at a restaurant on the top floor of the adjacent mall. Partway through, Chloe excused herself to use the restroom. The top-floor restroom was under renovation, so she had to go down to the 6th floor. The moment she stepped into a stall, she overheard a hushed conversation in French from the next one. Everything is set. When the time comes, it will explode. The man named Bai will die here today. Chloe's heart stopped. Bai? Jasper Bai? She burst out of the stall but only caught a glimpse of a retreating figure disappearing into the crowd. A time bomb. Here, in this mall. She immediately dialed a number she hadn't used in years. Chloe. The voice on the other end was so familiar it made her heart clench. Ethan, it's me, she said, speaking rapidly. I don't know if it's real or not, but evacuate the mall, now. Yes, Captain. The voice hesitated for a second before falling back on the old title. After hanging up, Chloe felt a wave of relief. With Ethan on it, the evacuation would be handled. Now, she had to get back to Jasper. The elevators were shut down. Without a second thought, she sprinted for the emergency stairwell and began racing up towards the 10th floor. When she burst, breathless, through the doors of the top-floor restaurant, she was met with a dark, dead silence. The sounds of a struggle, grunts and muffled cries, came from deeper within. Her heart tightened as she moved toward the noise. The scene before her made her hold her breath. In the center of the restaurant, a dozen men lay sprawled on the floor, either dead or unconscious. The thick smell of blood filled the air, and Jasper stood in the middle of the carnage. His clothes were spattered with blood, and crimson drops fell from his long, elegant fingers. But the blood, it seemed, all belonged to others. He looked up, his dead, dark eyes meeting hers, and a faint smile touched his lips. "You're late. You missed the more interesting part. Are you hurt?" Chloe rushed forward. "It's not safe here. We need to leave." She grabbed his cold hand and pulled him toward the stairwell. Just as they neared the door, a faint ticking sound reached her ears. A bomb. The sound morphed into a high-pitched electronic whine. Chloe's body reacted before her mind could, spinning around and tackling Jasper to the ground, shielding him with her back. "Get down." The expected explosion never came. From beneath her, the man's voice was cool and steady. "There won't be an explosion." Chloe froze, looking down into his bottomless eyes. "The device was altered," he said calmly. "But still, this is the second time." "The second time what?" "The second time you've risked your life to save me." His gaze was like a net, holding her fast. "Why?" Soon, Jasper's men had cleaned up the scene. Chloe changed out of her blood-stained clothes, ready to leave. In the elevator, Jasper spoke, his voice low and dangerous. "As it turns out, I still want you very much." Chloe stiffened. "Are you sure you won't consider being my bodyguard?" When she returned to the villa, Chloe had just put the bloodied clothes in the laundry room when Leo walked in. He saw the stark stains and froze, a genuine, long-absent worry flashing across his face. "What happened? Are you hurt?" He grabbed her hands, looking her over, his frantic concern so reminiscent of a rainy night 3 years ago. Chloe's heart stirred for a fraction of a second before settling back into its calm, cold rhythm. She gently pulled her hands away. "It's fine. It's someone else's blood." He let out a breath of relief, and that fleeting concern was quickly replaced by another agenda. "Sophia and I are just friends. You are my wife," he said, his tone gentler than it had been in years. "I know you've been wronged, and I'll spend more time with you from now on. And while we're at it, we can talk about the company. I want you to come back." So that was it. The real reason he had come home early. His concern, his warmth. It was all just a maneuver to get his final, most valuable chess piece back on the board. Chloe understood completely and smiled. A smile that held no warmth at all. "I refuse." Chloe's voice was like stone frozen in ancient ice, devoid of warmth or hesitation. Leo's brow furrowed, the brief tenderness on his face vanishing completely, replaced by irritation at being defied. "Are you still holding a grudge?" "This isn't about a grudge," Chloe said, looking him directly in the eye, her gaze sharp as a blade. "When I resigned, I had no intention of ever returning to your company." His patience finally snapped, and he tore away the last of his pretense. "Do you have any idea that by joining Blue Tech, you violated your non-compete agreement? I can sue you. Not only will you have to pay a massive fine, but your friend's company will be dragged down with you." Chloe looked at him in disbelief. She had thought he was merely clueless when it came to their relationship, but she never imagined he could be so shameless in business. "Leo," she said, a trace of derision in her voice. "I always thought you were, at the very least, an honorable businessman. It seems I overestimated you." She paused, then delivered the final blow. "To sue me, I would have had to actually sign a non-compete agreement. Don't you remember? From the very beginning, I was just an ordinary, unskilled employee in your eyes. All you ever gave me was a standard employment contract." Leo's face turned an ugly shade of pale. It was true. He had never seen her as a key employee, so he had never bothered to bind her with a non-compete. His greatest miscalculation was that he had never truly understood his wife's worth. In the following days, Leo was overwhelmed. His bank loan was rejected, and his project partners were adamant. No Chloe, no deal. During a company meeting, he lost his temper over minor issues, only to be told by his senior managers, "Mr. Gu, these are the kinds of problems Miss Chow used to handle for us." Chloe, Chloe, Chloe. The name was a ghost that haunted the company, its presence more palpable now that she was gone. He leaned back in his chair at a restaurant, frustrated, when Sophia's gentle voice pulled him back to reality. "Is something troubling you?" Looking at her bright, beautiful face, the turmoil in his heart seemed to quiet. He remembered a rainy night years ago when he was stabbed 8 times trying to protect his tuition money and fell into a cold river. As he was dying, a pair of hands pulled him ashore, a voice desperately pleading with him. "Hang on, I'll save you." When he woke up, Sophia was the first person he saw. From that day on, he vowed to repay her for saving his life. Even now, with his company's finances stretched thin, he refused to show any sign of weakness in front of her. "It's nothing, just a small problem," he said dismissively. "I'll take care of it. I promise I'll repay you even more in the future." Sophia smiled, satisfied. Of course she knew about the problems at his company, and this was her golden opportunity. A few days later, a high-profile gala was held at the Grand Imperial Hotel. Lana dragged Chloe along with a single purpose in mind, to return the expensive dress Jasper had given her in person. When Chloe appeared at the hotel entrance in a deep blue, star-dusted gown, she was like a serene and dazzling sapphire, instantly capturing everyone's attention. Even Leo, who had just stepped out of his car, was momentarily stunned. He had never seen his wife look so breathtakingly beautiful. Leo, Sophia's annoyed voice snapped him out of it. He looked back at Chloe, the admiration in his eyes quickly replaced by his usual suspicion. Are you following me here? What are you trying to do? You're really full of yourself, Lana retorted bluntly. Chloe is an executive at Blue Tech now. Is there a problem with her attending a gala with me? Just then, Chloe's phone rang. It was Leo's mother. Come to room 1205 at the Grand Imperial Hotel immediately. I need to talk to you about the divorce agreement. If you don't come, you can forget about the 100 million. What a coincidence. The same hotel. Your mother-in-law is bad news. Be careful, Lana warned. Chloe nodded. She looked at the thoughtful text message from her mother-in-law, telling her to pick up the key card from the front desk, and a cold glint flashed in her eyes. Inside the ballroom, the scene was a swirl of elegant gowns and clinking glasses. Sophia watched Lana enter alone, a victorious smile playing on her lips. Everything was going according to plan. Chloe swiped the key card and opened the door to room 1205. A sweet, cloying fragrance immediately hit her. Her senses went on high alert, and she instantly held her breath, but she feigned ignorance and walked inside. Almost immediately, a wave of weakness washed over her limbs. She stumbled and collapsed onto the edge of the bed. The door opened, and Leo's mother and Gia walked in, followed by two burly, thuggish-looking men. Haha, Chloe, I bet you didn't see this coming. Gia strutted over to her. Still want 100 million? In your dreams. After today, not only will you get nothing, your reputation will be in ruins. So this is your idea of a talk? Chloe asked, her breathing heavy, her eyes like ice. All right, you two can do whatever you want with this woman. The rougher, the better. Gia ordered the two men, her face twisted with sadistic glee. The men chuckled lewdly and began to approach Chloe. Have you thought about what this will do to Leo? I'm still his wife. Chloe's voice trembled, but her right hand, hidden by the long skirt of her gown, was clutching her phone. With the screen facing down, her fingers moved with blinding speed, each tap precise and sure. It was the muscle memory of a special forces soldier, ingrained in her very being. She was giving him one last chance. The call went through, the volume set to its lowest level. Down in the ballroom, Leo was nursing a drink, scouting for potential investors. His phone vibrated. He glanced at the caller ID, Chloe. Oh, it's Chloe calling, Sophia said softly beside him. If she's unhappy that I came to the gala with you, perhaps I should leave and let her join you instead? Don't worry about her. Leo frowned and rejected the call. In his mind, it was just another one of her pointless attempts to bother him. Up in room 1205, the cold, flat tone of the disconnected call was like a poisoned dagger plunging into the deepest part of Chloe's heart, shattering the last illusion of what they once had. She looked up at the ugly, gloating faces of her in-laws, and the light in her eyes died completely. Then, in an instant, it reignited into a raging inferno. We were, at least, family for 3 years. Her voice was a whisper. If you stop this right now, I can let it go. Huh, you want to let it go? Gia cackled. Out of consideration for our family bond, I picked out 2 especially strong men for you. Chloe's eyes lowered. On the phone screen hidden beneath her dress, the last line of code was entered. The moment she smelled the drugged incense, she had already planted a micro camera in a discreet corner of the room. Now it was time. Down in the ballroom, Leo was about to approach the newly arrived Jasper by. Suddenly, the massive LED screen in the center of the hall flickered. Then, a sharp, cruel female voice blasted through the high-end sound system, echoing in every corner of the room. Hurry up. I want her to leave with nothing. Not a single cent. Leo froze. That voice. It was his mother's. A hush fell over the entire ballroom. Hundreds of pairs of eyes, filled with shock and curiosity, turned towards the massive screen. The video feed was live, showing a luxurious hotel room. 2 thuggish men were closing in on a woman in a blue gown, who was slumped on the bed. And standing by, directing the scene with vicious glee, were 2 women whose faces were intimately familiar to the city's elite. Leo Gu's mother and sister. What's going on? Isn't that Leo's mother? And that's his wife on the bed. They're setting up their own daughter-in-law. The whispers grew into a roar. Leo stood paralyzed, the blood draining from his face. He finally understood. The call he had so casually rejected wasn't a petty complaint. It was a desperate cry for help. Hurry and get it over with. Gia's impatient voice boomed through the speakers again. I can't wait to see the headlines tomorrow. Leo finally snapped out of his stupor and sprinted towards the elevators, his mind a chaotic whirl of panic and disbelief. Upstairs in room 1205, one of the thugs reached for Chloe. But the moment his hand touched her shoulder, the seemingly weak woman exploded with terrifying force. She twisted, her elbow striking his throat with a sickening crunch. Before the second man could even react, Chloe was on her feet. She moved like a phantom, her gown no hindrance to the deadly efficiency of her movements. A precise strike to the temple, a powerful kick to the knee, it was all over in seconds. The two large men lay groaning on the floor, completely incapacitated. Leo's mother and Gia stared, their mouths agape, as if they were seeing a ghost. You faked it, Gia stammered. Chloe walked towards them slowly, her eyes burning with a cold fire. Did you really think a little drugged incense could take down a soldier from the Eagle Special Forces? Just then, the hotel room door burst open. Leo rushed in, his eyes landing on the two men on the floor, then on his terrified mother and sister, and finally, on Chloe, who stood tall and unharmed, radiating a chilling aura of danger. Chloe, I didn't know, he began, his voice trembling. Chloe just looked at him, her expression unreadable. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. The live feed to the entire gala had already said everything. Suddenly, another figure appeared at the door. It was Jasper Bai. His gaze swept over the scene, his dark eyes finally resting on Chloe. There was no surprise in his expression, only a quiet, deep intensity. He stepped into the room and addressed the stunned crowd that had gathered in the hallway. It seems there's been a small disturbance. I trust the hotel security and the police will handle it from here. His voice was calm, but it carried an authority that sent a clear message. The show was over. He then walked over to Chloe, ignoring everyone else in the room. He took off his own suit jacket and gently draped it over her shoulders. Are you all right? He asked, his voice low, for her ears only. Chloe nodded, the rigid tension in her shoulders easing slightly. That simple gesture of protection was something she had craved from her husband for 3 years, and now, it was being offered by a near stranger. Leo watched them, a storm of jealousy, regret, and confusion raging inside him. He had just witnessed a side of his wife he never knew existed, a powerful, dangerous, and utterly captivating woman. And in the same night, he had pushed her away for the last time, right into the arms of another man. The scandal was immense. The Goof family became the laughingstock of the city. Their plot was so public, so vile, that no amount of damage control could save their reputation. Leo's company, already on shaky ground, began to crumble. Days later, Chloe met Leo to sign the final divorce papers. He looked haggard, a shadow of his former self. I'm sorry, Chloe, he said, his voice hoarse. For everything. It's too late for apologies, Leo, she replied, her voice cool and detached. She signed her name without hesitation. As she walked out of the lawyer's office, a free woman, she felt a strange mix of emptiness and relief. The life she had known was over. She took a deep breath of the city air. It was time to build a new one. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from Jasper Bai. I hear you're in the market for a new job, it read. My offer still stands. And I've added a signing bonus. Attached was a picture. It wasn't of money or a contract. It was a photo of a brand new, gleaming elementary school in a remote mountain village. At the gate, a stone plaque was being installed. On it were carved 2 names, Warren Xiao and Anna Guan.